Gluten-free. My sister, 25-ish at the time, worked for a big box store a few years. She was walking by the automotive department one afternoon shift when she heard the familiar sound of the price gun. Sh-chunk, sh-chunk, sh-chunk. She then saw her friend, an assistant manager in that area, Leo, labeling every item on his shelf. Reading the label on a bottle of oil, my sister noticed it said gluten-free. Sh-chunk, sh-chunk, sh-chunk. What are you doing, man? Leo smirked and said, management wants every item in our departments marked gluten-free. I made sure that's what they wanted, and I was told that that's what they said, so it should be done. Sh-chunk, sh-chunk, sh-chunk. He didn't get in trouble, the manager being a decently humored fellow, and he was told to remove all the stickers with gluten-free on them. My sister said that 5 years later, a new assistant manager of automotive, long after Leo left for a new job, took a large brush used to clean off snow and asked her why it was marked gluten-free. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. Today we're taking a look at r/malicious compliance. Sorry, it's been a while since I've uploaded a couple videos here. We just got back into town, left Friday morning to go on a little retreat, and got to do a little bang bang with the pew pews and a little whoosh whoosh with the, I got to do archery. Anyway, learned a couple of things this weekend. One, I need to get in better shape. Walking up and down those hills to retrieve my arrows from the fake Annie mules that were up on the hills and down on the hills and across the creeks and things like that. Yeah, I live in flatland territory. Not quite Kansas flat, but pretty damn close. Picture Kansas with more trees. That's where I live. And the ocean. Walking up and down those hills, my back did okay, surprisingly. I did get out of breath a few times, maybe a dozen or so. And my hips is where it really started getting me, man. Right in the front hips, like where you would stick your hands in your pockets, right there in that joint, man. So need another shape other than round, I guess. Second thing I learned is I like archery. I did it when I was a kid a little bit, always used a recurve bow, never used the compound, maybe tried a crossbow once or twice, and just never got back into it as an adult. I just always assumed it was going to be too complicated, need too much patience, this and that. I always had an excuse why I didn't try. And we tried the crossbow that my buddy had with him, and didn't like it at all. Didn't feel natural, felt too unwieldy for some reason. Maybe I'm lazy, maybe part of it's because it's a walking trail that we were doing. So you walk to stations, station 1 is a cougar, not that kind. Station 2 is a deer, station 3 is a hog, station 4 is a bear, whatever. And so anyway, tried the first station with the crossbow, lousy. Second station, my buddy was shooting instinctively with an old recurve bow, no sights, no, targeting system, laser, flashlight, none of that crap. Just the plain bow and plain arrows. And asked me if I wanted to try it, so I said sure. And I stepped up, gave it a shot, hit the target, and I think I'm in love again. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the story. And what is it with people in gluten-free? I understand celiac is a real thing and there are gluten intolerances and things like that, but listen, folks, if you need to know that your motor oil is gluten-free or your snow brush or your taillight bulb replacement or anything like that, you need more help than just, getting your stomach straight with your gluten intolerances. Seriously. Anyway, next story. It doesn't look like you have enough to do. Got my first career job in local government, keeping tabs on its real estate and the legal documents relating to said real estate. I'm wet behind the ears. My first 40-hour-per-week career job. This was a time when multitasking was a huge buzzword in business, and it seemed every single job I applied for required someone with good multitasking skills. I thought it was BS. I worked best when only working on one task at a time and managing my workload via a daily time allotment schedule. That is, I'd schedule my work in 15-minute lumps when I got in the morning and work on those tasks. That way I never missed a deadline or had a project fall between the cracks. For example, some tasks got slotted 2 hours, some whole days, some just 15 minutes. I love to keep my desk clean. All tasks that appeared in my physical inbox were sorted and prioritized. The paperwork was then filed and the task scheduled for later that day or later in the week depending on how urgent it was. Consequently, my desk was always empty, save one folder and a few maps related to the folder. Once one task was done, that folder and its maps were filed. A new folder and its maps were retrieved. One afternoon, my direct boss walks in, looks at my desk with its one folder and 2 maps, looks at my clean-topped filing cabinets, looks at my empty inbox, physically one you can actually put paper folders in, and grunts, and then walks out. 20 minutes later, my boss strides back into my office, drops 18 inches of folders and papers onto my inbox, states proudly and firmly, "Worker, it doesn't look like you have enough to do. This should keep you busy." He smiled and strutted back to his cluttered office. It was busy work, 3 weeks of mind-numbing paperwork. Nothing outside of my work description, just more like duplicate files, old contracts, unorganized paperwork, and/or outdated maps. In dealing with the dump's aftermath, I learned my lesson. While doing my actual job was important, it was equally important that hard work appear to be happening, so I could do my actual job. I started saving old files, old maps, and old legal documents. I rebound up papers that normally would have been recycled into legitimate-looking folders. I transformed my office into a duplicate of my boss's chaotic file and paper hellscape. My inbox always had papers and folders in it. Height and number would vary daily, never empty. I had folders piled on top of the file cabinets, folders in stacks on the floor, 24 of those white office boxes packed with files towering around my work area. I even had a map rack with old maps rolled up in it. My office looked utterly cluttered. I even took to walking everywhere with a steno pad, a file folder, and sometimes a map under my arm. Didn't matter where. Getting coffee? Pad and file. Pooping? Pad and file. Pointless meeting? Pad, 2 files. To an actual necessary and productive meeting, it would be a pad, relevant file, and relevant map. Every morning right after scheduling my real work, I would shuffle the fake folders and paper around my desk and work area, move the boxes about every 2 weeks. But in all that visual chaos, I kept one area of my desk clean, where the real work happened. One day my boss peeked into my office, the door bumping into a stack of 3 full white boxes placed behind it, preventing it from fully opening. A single file fell off the top, spilling its guts all over the floor. He looked around, paused at the mess he just made, then he says, sorry about that. What are you working on? I rattled off 3 of the highest priority properties on the current week's schedule and the tasks for each. Alright, I'll give this to someone else. And he walked on down the hall. I'd already completed those tasks. I've worked with enough people over the years to realize that if you don't look like you're totally frazzled, pulling your hair out, sweating from the brow, out of breath, tie half undone and shirt all wrinkled and messy and everything, and just looking like you're ready to just, burn the whole place to the ground, then it seems like you just don't have enough work to do. Even though you're accomplishing everything that they want done, and then some, because you're keeping your area clean, neat, and organized so that, as things come in, bring one in, get it done, ship it out. I don't know why that's always such a problem for bosses, but I'm starting to honestly wonder if your boss, your immediate supervisor with his cluttered office, isn't doing something very similar, like, using those piles as a way to keep people out of his office and from bugging him. So, come to think of it, my desk always looks crappy. I mean, I've got piles of vintage razors over here, shaving razors, some plumbing parts that I need to install over here, some pew-pew food over here, along with some headphones and knife sharpening stuff. I mean, my crap is everywhere, but nobody ever thinks that I'm busy or I'm doing a good job or anything. They just say, this place looks like crap. Moral of the story is, keeping a messy area only works for keeping the bosses off your ass when you're at work. Don't try it at home. It definitely doesn't work here. $140? That's expensive for an oil change. Take it out and put the old oil back. Alright, bet. $140 seems steep, but keep in mind this was a 22-year-old Chevy SUV. Not only did it need an oil change, but it's already suffering from bad piston slap, which we documented. It got dropped off for an overnight oil change, and first thing in the morning the customer showed up for his truck. When he heard the price, he got upset and said he wasn't paying that, and to put the old oil back, he doesn't care how, after explaining it wasn't possible. He gave off huge, bad guy vibes, and judging from the condition of his truck, he's always been a P. When he left, I had a talk with the other tech, and he was confused about how we're putting the old oil back in when it's so bad it looked like burnt oil. I told him we're going to pump the top of the waste oil, enough to fill his truck. All the waste oil is mixed. Synthetic, axle, and standard oil is all mixed, was waste and generally not a good idea to reuse it, but he insisted when he said he didn't care how. We put his old filter back and put desert heat-aged old oil back in it, and as an added measure, one of the techs he pissed off put axle grease on top of his catalytics. Doesn't damage anything or smoke, it's just smelly and effing horrible when it's heated. We put his truck down and put it outside and gave the keys to the owner of the shop. When he came back to get his truck, the owner was outside waiting and told him not to come back again. The boss is still worried we might be on the hook for his engine if it blows up, and we showed him all the paperwork and the documented piston slapping. We figured his truck might last another year at best if he changed the oil by now. Edit, for those wondering about the breakdown in cost. 12 quarts of T6, 70-ish, you keep the extra, oil stabilizer, $10. Filter, $12. Oil plug, $12. Only party left with for free, plus labor and disposal fees. 12 quarts of T6, 70-ish. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what kind of truck this is, but unless it's some huge, diesel engine like F550 or some big work truck, I've never seen a truck take 12 quarts. Am I missing something? Like, even most V8s, even a V10, I think only takes like 9. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong down below. One of you guys will know for sure. And I'm not Googling it right now. It is a weird story though. I'm not sure that the customer can force you to put the old oil back. And I'm not sure I would do that because even if he said it and I had it documented, lawsuits, even if you win, it's going to tie you up. It's going to it just makes things too messy. At that point, I would either rather hang on to his stuff until he pays his bill and then he can have his truck back, or put a mechanic's lien on him. One or the other probably would have been a better choice for me than, doing the labor to put everything, take out the fresh stuff and put the old stuff back in and all that. Yeah, it was petty and you got some revenge on him, but I don't know. I'm not sure I would have played that game. But good for you. My soon ex-boss says, you just need to prioritize. Hey, maybe not the most interesting or crazy story, but still some malicious compliance from my end. English is not my first language, so please be kind. I've been working in IT for the last 10 years. 4 of those in the company I'm just leaving. I joined this company after a few bad experiences with coworkers and bosses. After getting to know some of the staff in the company, I was really happy about the coworkers and colleagues because most of them seemed to be really friendly. Into my second year at the company, I felt like we were understaffed in IT. Not too bad still, I thought, but that was up until our workload increased, before we could handle the daily stuff and projects and on top could do some system upgrades over the year. Now we were getting more and more work due to new regulations from corporate and more software that needed to be supported. During this time, I started asking my team leader to look for a new guy. We needed more hands. After a year of bringing this up at least once per month, my boss started with this speech about, you just need to prioritize your work. Of course, this wouldn't help if the work is all like 110% of the load that the current team could handle. We increased our hours to get it done, but that was only for half a year. At this point, I was done with this whole ordeal. Corporate IT got more and more hostile. If you didn't message some people directly, what was prohibited normally, and on top of that, I saw people leaving left and right. After around year 3 of being with the company, I saw our trainee leave. I talked to him about pay and why he wanted to leave, not to deter him, but to understand his reasoning and to show my support. And at that point, I've been passively looking for a job for about 6 months. I was at this time talking to my team leader and telling him that he needs to increase my salary by around 8% at least and bring more hands to the team. He was asking me why I wanted to leave. I told him about the problems that he knows and said that I can't bring myself to stay in this company with the problems the team is facing. I say I just need to prioritize myself. He didn't react, unfortunately, but I think he got the point. As a side note, later I heard from my boss, basically the one above my team leader and me, that my team leader has never asked for more people, and to be honest, I want to trust this guy because he was sincere all the time as far as I know. Edit. Now I see the problem with my post. I should proofread a second time. I changed one of the quotes as the quote was, sometimes you just need to prioritize and sometimes you just need to prioritize your work. Second edit was, because I didn't say it word by word, I handed in my resignation and start my new job next month. When you get into big corporate situations like that, it's really hard to tell who's telling the truth and who's not. Your team leader, maybe he just didn't want to get his butt chewed out, so he didn't mention anything. Or maybe he did, and the big boss just told him, no, that's not going to happen. Don't talk to anybody else about this again. We're just not doing it. We'll deal with it. And then he lied to you when you asked him and, said that the team leader never asked. Whatever. It gets to the point where everybody's just out for themselves. They're trying to save their own skin while they're either biding their time looking for a new job or just staying put and keeping their heads down and, running out the clock for as long as they can until they need a new job. Hard telling. But either way, if that company keeps going like that, I can't imagine it's going to last a whole lot longer. Dealing with a nosy/toxic neighbor using a brother-in-law and a decommissioned hearse. This was way back in 2012, but it still feels so damn good to think about it. We had just moved into our new house in a small and nice, but not posh neighborhood. Our neighbor Betty was aggravated from the very beginning. She had a perfect view of the neighborhood playground, as did we, but she really hated the fact that the kids would enjoy themselves on said playground. In the first 2 months of us being there, she called the cops on the kids playing 3 times. Needless to say, the officers weren't very content with her either. But every time she would say something about drugs, violence, etc., i.e. force the police to take action. I finally confronted her and told her that the kids had every right to play there, and that she should get her crap together or move out to the country. She then went on a toddler's tirade and said that she would hire a private investigator to keep an eye on things, as she had other more important things to do anyway. Yeah, sounds like it. Keep in mind that Betty was a senior citizen, so of course my conscience wouldn't allow me to have her pay for such an inconvenience. Luckily for her, my brother-in-law was just out of a job and needed something to pay the bills, and as I had set out to make my neighbor as happy as possible, I thought I could get 2 birds with 1 stone. So I rang him up, and within 2 days we had set up the new company, Tommy's PI office. My brother-in-law is a bit scruffy looking, wearing mostly overalls and Crocs, but I figured he would be perfect for the job as no one would suspect him being a PI. I then went along and got him a company car, as he might have to pursue the 10-year-olds playing on the swings and dealing in their spare time. Luckily, we found this magnificent beast, which would be perfect for a good long stakeout. Fortunately for me, I got a family discount, so I didn't have to put down a lot in wages, and the hearse was just over $1,000. So we placed Tommy and his new company hearse in front of Betty's house, public road, so she would no longer have to worry about keeping an eye on the small criminals across the street. Within 2 weeks, she finally got enough of people checking in on her and politely asked Tommy if he would give up his stakeout. We didn't get more complaints after that. So, I don't understand. You said she had the perfect view of the playground. I guess you didn't say she actually enjoyed the view of the playground, and she definitely doesn't seem to enjoy the kids actually enjoying the playground. I'll never understand people. We used to have a neighbor across the street, rest his soul. He died a few years ago and his daughter moved in. She was moving down here to take care of him, and unfortunately he passed before that really had a chance to happen, and she got the house and all that. Anyway, seems like a nice enough guy. Came from North Jersey, had the North Jersey accent, and when he bought the house sight unseen online. I wouldn't buy a pair of underwear sight unseen online and from a department store website, let alone a house from a real estate website. But anyway, he paid for this house, moved all his stuff down here, paid a pretty penny for the house too. And one of the first things I ever heard him say was, well, if I knew there was this many damn kids around here, I would have never bought the house. Well, it's a neighborhood, dude. Like, seriously, there's going to be little kids running around. Yes, they're going to scream sometimes. Yes, they're going to yell sometimes. Yes, you're going to hear a basketball bounce 8 million times up and down the street. Skateboard wheels, bicycle bells, whatever. I just never understood. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of excessive noise will make the hair on the back of my neck stand up and make my skin crawl sometimes, but I have learned to deal with it over the years. I'm not sure where he came from in North Jersey, but evidently it wasn't the city like I was thinking originally, because there's more to North Jersey than just cities, so go figure. If you don't like the sound of little kids playing, don't buy near a school. Don't buy in a small, established neighborhood. Hell, why don't you just get a cabin and move out to the woods? Do us all that favor, would you? The food is bad. My son has some special needs and is a reluctant reader and writer. He's never before taken initiative to read or write on his own. He's so enthusiastic about lots of other parts of learning. He's an OT in speech and has an IEP. He is, however, very gifted at finding the loophole in everything. It's entertaining and exasperating, and sometimes I'm just in awe. I made him lunch today. Some chicken, rice, fresh fruit, and some snap peas. All things he normally likes. I thought it was a nice lunch. While he was eating, I had to make a call to schedule an appointment. He said, I don't like this. This tastes bad. I want something else. I don't want this for lunch. Since I was on the phone, I said, eat what you can, please. I'm on the phone, and I don't want to hear you complain about your lunch again. He was very quiet for the next few minutes as I finished up my call. Then he handed me a piece of paper. My kid, who's never wanted to read or write, who I often have to sit with and do it with him the entire time, wrote for the first time on his own. It was a passive-aggressive note. He wrote for the first time to make a complaint. The note said, "The food is bad," in all caps. I'm really proud and a little offended, but mostly proud. And technically, I hadn't heard him complain about his lunch again, so yeah. I'm not able to attach a photo of the note here, but I hung it on the fridge and told him I was very proud of him for writing it all by himself. I'm so proud of you, son. You started to write. Now sit down and eat your lunch. I was a picky eater too when it came to lunches. Maybe the kid had a point. Maybe, maybe your chicken was starting to go off a little bit. Maybe the mayo was off a little bit. I don't know. Maybe taste it and smell it for yourself and then write him a little note back. Food is fine. Tested it myself. Ma. Speaking of tasting bad and smelling bad, I don't know about taste. But anyway, did you know we make soap? Like, really, seriously, we make soap. Soap that you, wash your body with. If you get a chance and you like handmade soaps, shave stuff, beard stuff, laundry soap, we even make laundry soap. We clean your clothes so they don't smell like that chicken salad or whatever it was she made. Why don't you hop on over to unclejohnsoap.com and check it out. If you like handmade stuff, this might be the site for you. You never know. All right, guys, till the next video, we'll see you.